This is the Led to Lead podcast, where we explore the realm of leadership through the lens of faith. Here's your tour guide and host, Leah Hagood.
Hello, welcome friends and family to the very first episode of the podcast, Led to Lead. My name is Leah Hagood and I am your grateful host. I just want to say on the front end, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to this podcast. I have been dreaming and thinking about this podcast for the past 6 months or so, and it's finally come to fruition. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Like I said, my name is Leah, and I am looking forward to being your tour guide and host. Now, why do I call myself your tour guide? Well, my hope is that this podcast would be a journey that you and I can go on together and expect to gain 3 things: wisdom, understanding, and insight. Now, what kind of a journey do I hope we embark on? Well, we will be discussing what it takes to make the move from being led by a leader to becoming a leader yourself. If you're familiar with the Bible, I would liken this podcast to if Timothy from the New Testament were to have a podcast. Now, Timothy was a young man who was a Christian before the term Christian was ever really used. He was known simply as a believer. He was also spoken of very highly among his community before he ever held any form of leadership role. So much so that he gained the interest of perhaps the greatest Christian evangelist of all time, a man by the name of Paul. Through hands-on ministry experience and living in the trenches with Paul, if you read the book of Acts, you'll know what I'm talking about, Paul being in prison and all this other crazy stuff. It's wild. Timothy was eventually commissioned to become the pastor of the church in Ephesus, which was one of the very first churches ever established in the first century. The relationship between Paul and Timothy can be categorized as father and son. Paul refers to Timothy a couple times as his true son in the faith. Throughout his ministry, Paul writes several letters to different churches to encourage them and to stir them on in their well-doing, but he wrote 2 letters specifically to Timothy. In 1 Timothy chapter 4, I'm going to read about 3 verses. It's verse 12 and then 14 and 15. Paul coaches Timothy by writing these words: "Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. Do not neglect your gift, which was given you through prophecy when the body of elders laid their hands on you. Be diligent in these matters. Give yourself wholly to them, so that everyone may see your progress." Now, what is Paul saying here? He's saying to Timothy, being young does not mean you can't be a leader. Set the standard by how you talk, how you treat people, how you love people, how you trust the Lord, and do all of that with pure motives. Don't put aside the gift that was given to you from God through His Word. Stay committed with everything you've got. Give yourself to your congregation so that they can see your progress. That is what this podcast is going to be all about. It's going to be about movement, moving forward, possibly moving outward, out of your comfort zone even, and sometimes even moving on from something. But in the words of Paul, it will be about progress. Each of you has been given a talent, a skill, an ability that is unique to you. The question is, how will you use it? Will you neglect it because of fear of failure? Or will you give it all that you have, no matter the failures you may encounter? That's what I hope you can determine through listening to this podcast. So, what value can you expect to gain from listening to this podcast? I am so glad you asked. You can expect 3 things. The first is total transparency. I just want to put this disclaimer out there. I am not claiming to be a leadership guru. I am simply hungry and eager to grow in my own development. So there will be moments where I'm learning right along with you. Yes, it's a very vulnerable spot to be in, but I want you to see my progress as well. The second thing you can expect is interviews from local leaders in many different fields. I am from the Greenville, South Carolina area, and part of my leadership backstory is my heartbeat is worship. I have served as a worship leader in the upstate over the past 9 years, and wow, it has been an incredible journey to be on a couple different worship teams and serving the Lord all throughout that. It's just been simply incredible. I've also had the opportunity to be a manager at the Holy Chicken Palace, the home of God's chicken. Yes, you've guessed it. It's Chick-fil-A. Yes, Lord. Along the way, I have had some incredible mentors who have challenged me, groomed me, and encouraged me to become the leader I am today. And Lord willing, I would love to share their words with you too. Whether you serve in ministry, own your own business maybe, or you're one of those beautiful baristas at Starbucks that makes my beautiful mocha frappuccinos that are delicious, whoever you may be, you will be able to take away something to ponder and consider from those conversations. Thirdly, you can expect to be encouraged. This world that we live in can be so incredibly dark. In an age chock full of information and connectivity, where we are all so aware of everything going on around us, along with that comes anxiety, loneliness, low self-worth, fear. How do we cope with these realities? The writer of Hebrews chapter 3 and verse 13 says this, "Encourage each other daily while it is still called today, so that none of you is hardened by sin's deception." Solomon, who is known as the wisest man ever to live on this earth, said this, "Anxiety in a person's heart weighs it down, but a good word cheers it up." That's Proverbs 12:25. He also said this, "Pleasant words are a honeycomb, sweet to the taste and health to the body." That's Proverbs 16:24. We all need encouragement. We are only human after all. However, if you are a follower of Jesus, you know that this life is not the end of the line. Oh, it is just the beginning. You see, you and I, we were created by a holy and perfect Creator God. Unfortunately, we have a heart condition called sin, which means we are born prone to live for ourselves instead of for God. Sin is what separates us from God because He is holy and righteous, and nothing sinful can be with something holy without reconciliation through a blameless, perfect sacrifice. So, God had this insane yet amazing idea to send His only Son, Jesus, who never sinned a second of His life, to come and live with us jokers, perform miracles, and teach us jaw-dropping truths. Not only that, He accomplished the impossible. He paid the debt of our reconciliation through the death sentence of crucifixion. But, spoiler alert, the tomb is empty. Jesus defeated death, hell, and the grave when He came out of that tomb. Now, what does that mean? You can have hope that even in the midst of a storm, God loves you and is with you. You were created to love God and love people. That is what Paul and Timothy proclaimed with boldness for the rest of their lives in their ministries. Now, why did I tell you all of that? And what does that have to do with being a leader? Maybe you're at a crossroads or in some sort of confusion, trying to figure out your way through school or at your job. Maybe you feel stuck. Maybe you feel like no one will take you seriously as a leader. Let me encourage you with this. God is not done with you. You were made on purpose and with a purpose. Maybe you're a Timothy. You're a young whippersnapper just absorbing any information about leadership and ready to jump in the leadership pool cannonball style. Or maybe you're a Paul. You've been in the game for a long time. You've been a mentor to aspiring leaders and have had great success. And thank you both for coming and listening to this. That's amazing. However, each of you has a distinct, unique calling on your life. Whether that is to be in full-time ministry, maybe run a nonprofit, or big-time goals, run a Fortune 500 company, or just simply be the best employee you can be, God has a plan for you. You have been led to this very moment in time. Now is the time to learn how you can lead from those who have gone before you, including what God says about leadership. I hope that you are just as excited and pumped as I am about this journey. My hope and prayer is that you are encouraged to act boldly in your realm of influence as you learn from those further along than you and as you strive to become the leader God has designed you to be. Hey guys, before we leave our time together today, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how you can be a part of the Led to Lead podcast. First and foremost, numero uno, I need your help with this. I need you to subscribe to this podcast. That is how the word is going to spread about this particular content, and I could really use your help in just spreading the word. The next thing that you can help me out with, I want you to grab your little smartphone. I'm grabbing mine right now. If you are on Instagram, I need you to search Led to Lead Pod. That's right. Led to Lead Podcast is on Instagram. So, like I said, pull up your little search bar and type in Led to Lead Pod. That's Pod. And it's all one word, no spaces, nothing like that. And I want you to follow that. Why? Because there's going to be exclusive content on there, maybe about some interaction in an episode that I have, or maybe for an interview in the future. I'm not really sure what all this is going to look like, to be quite honest with you. It's going to be a journey. It's going to be fun. Like I said, in the episode, we're talking about progress, and I'm showing you my vulnerability right now and saying that we're going to try some things out. We're going to be adventurous with this. So, like I said, subscribe to the podcast. You're going to get the content straight away. It's going to go straight to your phone. That way you don't miss anything. And then next, follow us on Instagram, Led to Lead Pod. Okay? The next thing that I want you to keep an eye out for, I plan on doing episodes monthly. I think the next one may be a little bit less than a month. I will keep you posted via Instagram. So you got to follow to find out when. What I want to do at the end of every show is more of kind of a discussion question. I'm calling it Challenge of the Month. Challenge of the Month. Okay. I'm probably going to start a hashtag. I don't know. We'll see. So Challenge of the Month. And what does that mean? So it's going to be pertaining to the episode. And basically, the idea is for you to think about the content of what we just talked about and put it into practice. So this month, we were talking all about Timothy and Paul and how Timothy was kind of taken under Paul's wing and that sort of thing. So challenge of the month, whether you have been a leader for a long time or you are brand new to this whole leadership thing, your challenge this month is to set up a meeting with a mentor. Okay? Set up a meeting with a mentor and just talk and ask questions. The best thing that you can do is ask questions about anything and everything. You know, the most inquisitive person can find out the most information. And simply, I think a lot of us get so stuck in our own abilities that I don't need to ask for help. That makes me look weak. No, that means you're smart in asking tough questions and looking to someone else's experience and not being so arrogant to think that you yourself have all the answers that you'll ever need, which is not true. I have learned that. Okay. So what I want you to do is if you go to my Instagram, Led to Lead Pod, remember, there should be a post on there that will give you a place. It will say Challenge of the Month. I want you to comment on there how your challenge is going, when you set it up, who you set it up with, why you set it up, what you talked about. And that way that kind of cultivates some conversation between either people that follow the Instagram account or me, myself. And I hope that this will be an encouragement, that this will just begin to let the leadership juices flow, so to speak. So, challenge of the month, set up a meeting with a mentor. Okay. And I would love, like I said, I want to hear about this. So let me know in a comment on that particular post and let's talk about it. Let's figure all this out. So your homework, subscribe to the podcast, follow Instagram, and then your challenge of the month, set up a meeting with your mentor. Now, what is coming up on the horizon? Next episode, this one, you know what? I was like, what kind of topic should I talk about? And what would be relevant and what would be challenging to talk about? And I think I picked it out because this one's a doozy for me. And like I said, I'm showing you my progress. I'm showing you my vulnerability. So next episode, we will be talking about, wait for it, procrastination. Oh, it's always been a struggle of mine. You'll hear more about it, about my personal struggle with procrastination, and I'm excited to kind of go on this journey with you. Till next time, see you later.